the first sketch you created was on an origin plane, so we can start a new sketch again on the origin plane if we wanted to. We have all the origin planes available here in the model tree. But you can actually start a sketch on any flat face on a solid model, which sometimes is very handy. So let's start a sketch on a face. So let's click the Start 2D Sketch button again, and then we will select this face here. And you can see these faces light up when you hover over them. But you notice you cannot start on this rounded face. You have to choose a flat face to start a sketch. So we will click on this face, and now we are back in the sketch environment. As you can see, Sketch tab is highlighted. We have the green tick mark here, and Sketch 2 has appeared in our model tree. So what we want to do now is, let's bring in the drawing. We want to make this cut here. So we will sketch this section, and then we will cut it with using the extrude tool, but instead of adding material, we will remove material. So we need 2 lines, or actually 3 lines, or plus the top 4 lines altogether, and they need to be at a specific angle and some specific dimensions. But let's worry about the dimensions in a little bit. Let's start again by making a rough sketch. So let's use the line tool, and we can see if we hover over the top here, it actually snaps onto it, and we can see a little yellow dot. So let's just kind of eye up where we think this cut should start. It's, I think, there. Let's click, draw it down a line. We don't want it to be 90 degrees this time. We want it to be 60 degrees, but you should, again, eye it up a little bit. I think that's pretty good. Left click, line tool continues. Just go a little bit of a distance. Now we want to be perfectly horizontal. Click again, and then go up towards this upper line. And if you notice here, right here, to the left, there are 2 parallel lines showing. You can see here is a little constraint tool and a constraint symbol. And if I set it right here, you can see that to the left. That means that the 2 angled lines, kind of hard to show it to you here, because if I move the mouse marker, the constraint symbol would disappear. So if I'm out here, there is no constraint showing that these 2 lines are parallel. And here they are parallel, there they're not parallel. I'm going to set them so they're not parallel, just to show you how to use the parallel constraint tool. So I'm just going to click so I snap onto the upper edge. So just click there. And then I would want to do one more line from here to here. You may have noticed that the line tool stopped working. That's because I connected to something else. I had to click again and click over here to get a line. If you didn't follow, I think you will be right. Be all right. So now we have drawn our 4 lines. I will press escape to get out of the line tool. So I hope you can see this well. It's not super easy to see these green lines on the gray background, but I hope you will do all right. So this is what we have done now. We have sketched this, a rough outline of this cut we want to do. And if we want to look directly on this face again, you can use this little cube up here, and it's the front, is what we sketched on. So I will click there, and it will get us back into this view. So what we want, so look at the drawing, we want these 2 lines to be parallel. So let's just start by setting them parallel. We could have opted to make them parallel when we sketched them. Inventor suggested that, but I chose not to. So let's go to the constraint menu, click on this parallel constraint, and then click on this line and that line, and now the 2 are parallel. That will come in very handy, and I will show you right now why that is. So they're now parallel, but we want this angle here to be 60 degrees. So let's do the dimension tool, and let's dimension from this line to the top edge click once and then type in 60 for 60 degrees. And you notice now, because these two lines are parallel, when I change this angle, that angle changes as well. So we don't have to dimension this angle, it's automatically dimensioned by this angle. I hope you followed in that. So let's take a look at what other dimensions we need. So we can start with the length of this bottom piece. So because these two lines are parallel, the distance from here to here will be the same as from here to here. And if we read the drawing, that is 12 millimeters. So that means the length of this line will be 12 millimeters. So just click on it, type in 12, and press enter. And again, if you get behind, just pause the video, go back if you need to, and make sure you keep up and do all these steps. Another dimension we want is the dimension from this edge to this edge, which is 15. And I'm quite sure you know exactly how to do this now. So we do the dimension tool. And here you will notice, if you try to dimension this line, that won't work well. That's the wrong dimension. So press escape. Instead, you will have to dimension from this corner here. We can zoom in a little bit to show it better. From this corner here to that corner there. And now you can add 15 as a dimension and zoom out a little bit. You can see that the lines are starting to turn blue, which means they are getting more and more constrained. And we're missing one dimension, and that is the distance from the bottom of this cut to the bottom edge. So that is 5 millimeters. So let's add that. It's 5 millimeters from this line to the bottom edge. Pull it out, type in 5, press enter. And now it is fully constrained. And I will show you a little bit of a trick, but it comes with a bit of a warning. Don't overuse this function if you don't have to. So say you're sketching something like this, you're making whatever design you're working on, and no matter how hard you work, down here it may say that there is still not fully constrained, and you can't figure out what dimension is missing. The reason you want to fully constrain a sketch is that it makes it very rugged and robust. So while you can extrude and work on sketches that are not fully constrained, it's not recommended that you do it. But sometimes you just can't figure out which dimension is missing. And I will show you how I call it the magic button. It isn't called that, but that's my name. I will delete this dimension to show you how this works. So up here is a button that's called automatic dimensions and constraints. So right now we have one dimension missing. If I click this button, it says it needs one dimension. I say apply. It will suggest, or not really suggest, it will add in the dimensions missing to fully constrain the sketch. And now it is fully constrained. But what happens is that it just locks the sketch into place exactly what it looks like. So you want to make sure to add all the dimensions you want before you use this button. But this is a magic button to use if you cannot figure out what that last dimension is that's missing. You will find it useful later on. For now, we will know all the dimensions we need. But when you get to your design project, that is good to keep in mind. That button will add your last constraints and lock down your sketch and make it really robust. So enough about that right now. So your sketch is done. And let's make that cut. So you can actually extrude while you're still in the sketch environment. So you don't have to finish your sketch to extrude. So let's just go to the 3D model tab and then press the extrude button. And now Inventor is automatically selecting this new area we sketched. It's assuming that that's what we want to cut out, and that is completely correct. But we don't want to add material. This time we want to remove material. So We have some options here. Join is what we used last time, but this time we will use cut. So we will remove material instead of adding material. And we could use this distance and type in the 30 because we know it's 30 wide, but there are better ways of doing this. We want it to cut through all. So why don't we want to use 30 and distance? Well, if we type in 30 and we cut through distance, it will work fine for now. But say we later go in and say we want to make this 40 wide, not 30, and you open up the first sketch you made, or sorry, the first extrusion you made and change that to 40, then suddenly your hole will only be 30 deep and it won't go all the way through. So if you say through all, it will always go through all the material, no matter if you change other features. So if you want it to go all the way through, use all. So we have selected the profile, we have selected cut, the extents are all, and just click OK. And there it is. Your cut is done. And I find it a lot of fun just to kind of rotate, orbit, and look at my design. I find that very enjoyable. It's almost like you made it in real life, but it's only in a digital space. So this is starting to look like the phone stand. So let's take this opportunity to save your part, and then let's continue to the next video.